Reiji Mukudori buys a copy of Infinite Dendrogram, the world's first full virtual reality MMORPG, and upon entering it, he is greeted by Cheshire, one of the AIs in charge of overseeing the game, who tells Reiji he must choose an online alias. Reiji chooses the name Ray Starling, and as he arrives at the Kingdom of Alter, he meets Liliana Grandria, an NPC who asks for his help in looking for her sister Milian. Shu, Ray's brother, offers to help in the quest, but after finding Milian in an abandoned orchard, they are attacked by demi-dragworms. With Shu dragged underground and Liliana fighting elsewhere, Ray is left to bring Milian to safety and awakens his embryo, Nemesis, who manifests as a sword, and destroys the last demi-dragworm, finishing the quest. As Ray, Nemesis, and Shu celebrate the completion of his first quest, Shu explains some of Alter's history and helps him to become a paladin. Later, Ray and Nemesis attempt to level up, but they are ambushed by a player killer, and despite his efforts to escape, Ray is killed and has to wait 24 hours before logging again. To become stronger, Ray and Nemesis go to the Tomb Labyrinth in the Royal Cemetery, where they fight zombies and meet Figaro, one of the top-ranking players in Alter, who recommends Ray to visit Gideon, a city where players can have duels and suffer no penalty for dying. As Figaro takes his leave, Ray and Nemesis continue their fight throughout the labyrinth. But Nemesis is left terrified by the zombies, and Ray consoles her by polishing her blade. He, Nemesis, Rook, and Babylon discover that the player-killer bands stalking the four corners of Alter have been eliminated. Marie Adler, a journalist working for the Dendrogram Information Network, confirms the story and shows the group a video depicting 3 of the top players in Alter, Figaro included, defeating the player-killers. Marie also confirms that the player-killer stalking the north, the one responsible for killing Ray, escaped and is still at large. Later, as Ray and Nemesis survey a destroyed forest, they come across Cheshire, who was running maintenance in the area, and informs Ray that maiden-type embryos like Nemesis share the same functionality as administration AIs. With the player-killers defeated, the roads across Alter are now open, and Ray and his allies accept a quest to transport goods to Gideon, with Marie offering to come along. Unbeknownst to them, however, a giant ogre called Gardrandha stalks the road to Gideon. As Ray's group sets out on their journey, they encounter a group of goblins attacking a caravan of travelers and defeat them until they are ambushed by Gardrandha, who spreads out poisonous gas to weaken Ray. Marie gives him an elixir to temporarily protect him, while Rook and Babylon keep Gardrandha distracted. As the battle progresses, Nemesis evolves into her second form and gains an ability which allows her to reverse any status ailments affecting Ray. Despite this, her offensive abilities are severely reduced, and Ray only kills Gardrandha when a bullet fired by the unidentified player kills him at the last second. With the boss defeated and the group arriving at Gideon, the quest ends and Ray is selected as MVP and also obtains 2 magical bracers as new weapons. He gets injured while testing them out until a stranger in a penguin suit, who calls himself Dr. Flamingo, offers Ray a potion that heals him but also gives him animal ears. Flamingo runs away, but not before telling Ray that he should return to normal in 10 hours, making Ray and Nemesis confused as to how does Flamingo know him, even though Ray never gave him his name. Later, a player sitting in a dark room looking at a monitor is watching several players and commenting about Ray. Ray and Nemesis visit an item shop in Gideon where he earns a special stallion from a gacha game machine but cannot ride it without earning a special amulet first. He attempts to earn money in order to buy the amulet, until he comes across a fellow master called Hugo and his friend Psycho, and they all get a quest from a woman, who asks them to save her brother from a child kidnapping gang. Upon accepting the quest, Hugo reveals his weapon, a giant robot called Majingier, which he uses to take Ray to the gang's fortress, but not before telling him that masters of maiden-type embryos, like Ray, do not consider Infinite Dendrogram to be a game, but as genuine as real life itself. While Hugo and Psycho attack the fortress defenders, Ray and Nemesis infiltrated and discover that several of the kidnapped children have been murdered and turned into undead monsters, forcing Ray to kill them in an act of mercy. Hugo is attacked by a giant boss, forcing him to reveal Psycho as his embryo and merge her with his Majingier before destroying the boss, while Ray reaches the fortress' lowest dungeon and finds a child as the sole survivor, only for the latter to attack. Ray survives the surprise attack thanks to Nemesis' halberd form and confronts the mastermind behind the kidnappings, a lich who was trying to create a powerful magical relic called the Crystal of Resentment. The lich attempts to flee but is stopped by Hugo, and Ray kills him, and while they go deep into the castle, the bandits attempt to steal Lich possessions. The crystal reacts to the Lich's death, kills the bandits, and merges with their corpses, creating a new boss. Hugo takes the children to safety while Ray confronts him alone, and Nemesis discovers that the boss is controlled by the lingering grudges of the people that compose it, and gains extra attack power whenever the Lich's grudge controls it. Ray is injured in battle and Nemesis takes him to safety while going to confront the boss on her own, and he has a dream about a mysterious girl who observes the time Shu saved him and a little girl from getting hit by a truck, getting his foot injured in the process. Ray blamed himself, but Shu told him to believe in himself and to never lose faith in whatever choice he makes. This motivates Ray to return to the fight, but not before the girl reveals herself to be the last remnant of Gardranda's mind, having acquired sentience after Ray killed her original form. He and Nemesis destroy the boss and acquire a pair of greaves as a reward, and later that night, Hugo and Cositus meet up with Flamingo, who takes off his penguin suit and discusses his plan to end the war between Alter and Drive. With all their major quests finished, Ray and Nemesis meet up with Marie, Rook and Babylon to have breakfast together, where Marie gives them an invitation to a fighting tournament that will be held in Gideon. Later, Shu tells Ray and Nemesis that he is friends with Figaro, who will compete in the tournament. As the tournament begins, Franklin calls the general of Drive's military and tells him of his plan to use the tournament to Drive's advantage, while Shu gives Ray a telepathy cuff which can be used to communicate two people across long distances. Shu also warns Figaro that he will face tough opponents in the tournament, but the latter still intends to win. Ray and Nemesis stumble upon Xianyu, who is carrying an unconscious girl, making Ray thinks that he is about to harm her and attempts to fight Xianyu, who proves to be too fast for him. Shu steps in and defuses the situation, and the unconscious girl is actually an ambassador from the Huanghe Empire, and Xianyu was her bodyguard. Ray and Shu reunite with the rest of the party as the match begins, with Figaro and Xianyu set to fight each other. Xianyu is able to land several hits, even cutting out one of his lungs, but Figaro possesses a special embryo that makes him more powerful the longer he remains in a fight. Just when it looks like Xianyu has directed a killing blow, Shu reveals that Figaro's embryo is inside his body and is shaped like a heart, protecting him from the attack, and he wins the match. But Flamingo interrupts and reveals himself to be Franklin, a scientist working for the Drive Imperium. He also reveals he kidnapped Elizabeth, Alter's second princess, and is keeping her hostage. Marie, having known Elizabeth right before the tournament started, becomes determined to save her from Franklin, who reveals that he surrounded the arena with a barrier, and if players attempt to break through, the monsters under his control will destroy Gideon. While Marie goes on to save Elizabeth, Ray discovers that underleveled players like himself can walk through the barrier safely, as it was only meant to hold high-ranking ones. He, Rook, and other underleveled players fight the ones affiliated with Drive, and Franklin tells Elizabeth that his plan is to eliminate any players affiliated with Alter, an action that will leave it vulnerable in an upcoming war. Marie briefly saves Elizabeth and inflicts lethal damage to Franklin, but he transfers it all to his monsters and survives. As he recaptures Elizabeth, he deduces Marie managed to kill a high-ranking player using only an underleveled embryo, and orders his henchman Velderbel to eliminate Marie. Meanwhile, a group of low-ranking players attempt to liberate Gideon's West Gate, but Hugo kills them. Marie, Hugo, and Velderbel remember the experiences that led to them to play Infinite Dendrogram in the first place, and Velderbel uses his ability to manipulate sound in an attempt to kill Marie, but she kills him by her revealing her embryo, Arkan Seal. Meanwhile, Franklin takes the unconscious Elizabeth outside Gideon and instructs Hugo to keep everyone except Ray from leaving the city. As he steps outside, he is attacked by the Royal Guard commanded by Liliana and summons a monster to decimate them. Ray and Rook reach Hugo, who agrees to let him confront Franklin, but not before the two attack each other only once. As Rook remains behind and fights Hugo, Ray reaches the city's outskirts and prepares to fight Franklin. Hugo uses a skill that freezes parts of Rook's body over time, but thanks to his deduction skills, Rook is able to understand how Hugo's skill works and merges with Babylon to fight with Majingier evenly. The power boost allows him to pierce through Hugo's cockpit and incapacitate him with his charm magic. Meanwhile, Franklin tells Ray that the potion he gave him earlier actually feed Franklin information about his status, level, and weapons, and he used that to create a monster with the express purpose of killing Ray. He also reveals he is the one that sent Liliana's sister Million to the monster-infested orchard, which was another attempt to weaken Alter. Ray tells Liliana and Sir Lindos of the Royal Guard to save their injured companions while he attacks the monster directly, and using his newest weapons. He is able to expose the monster's entrails and unleashes a magical attack that completely disintegrates it. Although Ray is successful in destroying the monster, he sustains severe injuries and falls unconscious as Liliana casts a healing spell that keeps him from dying, but she is unable to heal his left arm. Franklin reveals the monster Ray destroyed was actually the weakest monster he created for the invasion, and he uses a detonator to activate a series of bombs he planted all over Altar, but they fail to activate and Franklin realizes Marie has disarmed them. Rook has captured Hugo and makes him realize that Franklin never intended to end the Alterdrive war with minimal casualties, just as the latter summons his Embryo, Pandemonium, and sends an army of monsters to attack Gideon. Ray awakens and takes on them in order to buy enough time for his allies to prepare a counterattack, and with the help of Rook, Marie and a group of players, he is able to hold the line. Franklin realizes that with so many players assisting Ray, Hugo must have betrayed him, and Shu enters the battlefield revealing himself to be the King of Destruction, the player with the highest kill count in all of Altar. He summons his Embryo, a battleship that decimates a significant portion of Franklin's army, and when he realizes that he has lost, Franklin activates his final weapon, a large subterranean creature that will destroy Gideon's Colosseum Vatum. A foreign player who had infiltrated the Colosseum uses magic to move the tectonic plates around the creature, crushing it to death. Ray manages to reach Pandemonium and attempts to confront Franklin, but Hugo steps in to protect him. Ray sacrifices both arms to defeat the two while Shu destroys Pandemonium and Marie rescues Elizabeth. With the battle over, Liliana heals Ray but is unable to save his left arm, leaving him with his right one to continue playing the game. In the aftermath, Franklin removes Hugo from the Triangle of Wisdom in an attempt to protect him and to undo any moral restraints he himself may have in his goal towards beating Ray. Ray also has a rematch with Marie, having already discovered she was the player killer who killed him, and later, he disconnects himself from the game and continues his college studies in the real world. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, then consider subscribing and liking it, and don't forget to check out my merch store and Ko-Fi page. Your support will be much appreciated.